Sarah's pregnancy was progressing beautifully. She and Paul had finally decided to get married, and their happiness seemed endless. Everything in their lives felt perfect. Surrounded by family and friends, they were living in pure joy, looking forward to the future they were building together. But what no one knew was that Lilah had survived the plane crash. After the accident, a young man named Sebastian had found her unconscious among the wreckage and rescued her. However, the trauma had left its mark. Lilah had lost her memory. She remembered nothing, not her past, not her family, not even the man she had once called her husband. With nowhere else to go, Sebastian took her to his small village, where he lived with his young daughter. There, far away from the world she once knew, Lilah began a new life without even realizing it. Day after day, Sebastian cared for her patiently. He helped her heal not only physically. Slowly, Lilah learned to smile again. She grew attached to the quiet life of the village and to the little girl who adored her. As time passed, the bond between Lilah and Sebastian deepened. What began as compassion gradually turned into something stronger. They shared moments, laughter, and silence. Eventually, they began living like a family, and without even noticing it, love quietly found its place in their hearts. One morning, Lilah decided to go into town with Sebastian's daughter to buy a few things. The streets were calm, and the two of them walked happily side by side. Suddenly, a car came speeding down the road. Everything happened in a matter of seconds. Seeing the danger, Lilah instinctively pushed the little girl out of the way. In the violent impact, she crashed into a pole and collapsed onto the ground. She was immediately rushed to the hospital. When Sebastian received the call, his heart nearly stopped. He hurried to the hospital, fear and worry overwhelming him. Hours felt like days as he waited outside her room. Finally, the doctors reassured him. Lilah would recover. A few days later, she returned home. But the following morning, something strange began to happen. Fragments of images suddenly appeared in her mind faces she recognized without understanding why. Places she had once known, memories long buried in darkness. Day after day, the visions became clearer. Sebastian gently encouraged her not to fight them, but to let them come back, until one day, everything returned. Her entire past came rushing back to her childhood, her family, her life before the accident, and most of all, Paul, her husband. The truth struck Sebastian like a storm. A deep fear settled in his heart, the fear of losing her. The fear that the life they had built together would suddenly disappear. After days of reflection, Lilah made a decision. She had to see her family again. They needed to know she was alive. She asked Sebastian to come with her. Though his heart was filled with uncertainty, he agreed. A few days later, they set off on the journey. Meanwhile, Sarah was busy preparing her daughter's birthday celebration. The little girl was turning 2 years old, and the entire family had gathered in a beautifully decorated hall. Music played softly, children laughed, and joy filled every corner of the room. Suddenly, the doors opened. Lilah stepped inside, with Sebastian by her side. Time seemed to freeze. The laughter stopped. Conversations died in midst. A heavy silence spread across the room as every pair of eyes turned toward her. Some people stared in disbelief. Others whispered in shock. A few even wondered if they were seeing a ghost. Sarah slowly walked forward, her heart pounding, tears filling her eyes. "Lilah, is it really you?" she whispered. "Am I dreaming?" Lilah looked at her with warmth and tenderness. "My dear friend, it's really me." One by one, family members approached her, some trembling as they reached out to touch her, just to make sure she was truly there. Paul stepped forward. For a moment, he simply looked at her, unable to speak. Then he raised his hand, hesitated, and finally whispered, "Lilah, I missed you so much." At that moment, Sebastian's expression, a flicker of jealousy and fear, crossed his face. He stepped forward and spoke firmly. "My name is Sebastian, and I'm Lilah's partner. Then he began explaining everything, how he had found her after the crash, how she had lost her memory, and how, over the years, they had built a life together. When he finished speaking, the room fell into a deep and heavy silence, because now one question lingered in everyone's mind, a question no one dared to ask aloud. Who truly held Lilah's heart?